Oh, hey, I'm Joe Mack, and welcome back to the channel. Today, let's talk about Jay Kristoff's final entry into the Empire of the Vampire Trilogy, Empire of the Dawn. But before we get into that, I have to address that I tried to get this sticker off. Couldn't do it. It was leaving all that white crap behind, and now it looks even worse because it's got my fingernail pickings on the top and the bottom. I couldn't be more upset about that. But I digress. Let's jump into it. One thing I want to say right off the bat, those are fantastic covers. Like, even the font choice is incredible. I'm becoming so much more furious over the sticker issue. I have to figure out a good way to get those off. So if you have anything that you know to get these dang stickers off these books that these stores keep putting on them, let me know. Because not only do I have a sticker here, an Empire of the Dawn, but I recently got one of the newer Firefly books, and they have a UPC sticker over the Dust Jacket UPC, and I can't get that one off either, and I am suffering, guys. It's too much. I just don't get it. Anyways, okay. Let's bring it back on track. Empire of the Dawn. This is probably my second favorite of this trilogy. Empire of the Vampire is going to sit at my number one. It was just way too good, I think, to dethrone from that spot. I didn't really... well, that might be putting it a little harshly. It's not that I didn't enjoy Empire of the Damned, but definitely not as much as I enjoyed these two. Empire of the Dawn was a huge improvement for me as a reader in the enjoyment section over Empire of the Damned. So I'm going Empire of the Vampire, Empire of the Dawn, Empire of the Damned. That's my trilogy ranking order. I think that if you are out there looking for a video on the final book in a trilogy and you haven't read it, it's because you're looking for if the time investment is worth it. The answer is absolutely. This is in an action framework. This is a return to form for vampire books. I was so happy that this came out. I'm a huge vampire guy. Vampires kind of fell into a niche in recent times, and that kind of kept me away from it. They weren't included in stories that I found enjoyable or intriguing for myself. And this kind of brings it back into the fold of what I like to see. It's scary, it's gory, and then also on top of that, it's adrenaline fueled, it's action packed. I like everything that Jay does in these stories, and I think he really does a great job wrapping up the whole story. I have some more thoughts on some specifics regarding how it actually ends, but we'll jump to that later in the spoiler section. But as far as for the spoiler-free section, for those of you stopping by to check out if it's worth it, I'm going absolutely, definitely read this trilogy. It's a fantastic modern take on vampires, a fantastic fantasy trilogy, and I think it's absolutely worth your time. In this one, I found that Mr. Kristoff really does a great job with balancing that pacing and jumping in between all the different points of views, with all the different ones. Like, there's a bunch, there's two, but jumping back and forth between Gabriel and Selene, and then also being able to inject what's going on in present day whilst also going through this retelling that Gabriel and Selene are giving of their story that leads up to this point about what's going on with the Grail. I think he's able to mesh that all very well together. And in this book, it really shows that everything he's learned from the previous two is at the forefront. He nails it. There's not a single thing really that I have to say about this book negatively, except for one of the tools that he chooses to use. But that's not something I can talk about in this spoiler-free section. But as far as spoiler-free, writing style, prose, imagery, pacing, all that stuff, I have no complaints at all in this book. I thought everything was done very well. He's able to build a sense of tension and keep you guessing on the different items that he injects in this book. And there's a couple of surprises, and they're fantastic. And there's those things that make you look back at some of the stuff that was happening previously in the story and be like, how did I not see that coming? Or how did I not guess that that was what was going to happen? In fact, there's one thing that occurs that my immediate reaction was completely off base, because there's the entire Moon's Throne like race, right? There's all the people with the lycanthropy, or well, they turn into different animals. I can't remember exactly how it's phrased. The skin changers, right? I can't think of the word that Jay uses in this book that he refers to, like Phoebe, Dunsair, and everybody, but Dusk Dancer. Something catches me off guard that kind of like deals with that. There's also what I found to be an enormous red herring from the get-go, and I really want to get into that stuff. So this is the spoiler warning. Let's jump right into spoilers. So if you haven't read the third book, and like I said earlier, if you were looking to find out if it's worth it or if he sticks the landing, yes, he does. Yes, it's worth it. But from this point on, there's a couple of things that I really want to talk about, and I keep teasing myself with it. So let's get into the end. Let's get into the red herring. Let's get into Dior. That's terrible phrasing. Let's talk about Dior. All right, so first thing, let's just jump right into Dior. She's a Dusk Dancer, which when it happened, my first immediate reaction was, oh, of course she's a werewolf. She's anti-vampire. And I completely forgot that there's the entire Dusk Dancer race in this book. And I just immediately thought of Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman. And I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. Makes total sense. It's not just that she's the Grail and the Son of God, but like she is the weapon, right? And then I remembered the whole Dusk Dancer thing, and they also, obviously explain it not too long after that she's also the actual daughter of Phoebe's dead husband, Connor. So I thought that was actually handled quite well after my first initial reaction, and it helped to explain everything that happened, previously, and they definitely go into it and explain it to you in case you miss it, which is a little handholdy, and I think that maybe in modern days that's necessary. Could have been excluded, but they do go through and explain, that's how she didn't die, and it's kind of like a little harder of a magic type in this book series, because they go through and explain that the powers only appear in the children when the parents die, right? So she wasn't able to heal quickly before because Connor was alive. Then once Connor died, that was her last living parent. Now she heals fast, and that's how she was able to come back to life, because no silver had struck her when she had died. She just had her neck snapped. So I thought that was super cool. It was a great trigger point as well for Dior, and the imagery that Jay is able to kind of pull out of you in that moment with that primal scream and everything going on was fantastic, and absolutely lovely scene. So what else was huge in this? So you have Patience, right? Patience makes a comeback as a daughter of Voss, and then you learn later, not really, and I'll get into that part in a little bit, but the red herring that I mentioned. For me, the whole time, every time Gabriel or Selene had said Patience Coldblood or Patience Leech, or had used the word patience, like have patience, I thought that his daughter Patience was going to play a major role. Somehow be alive, which then it's revealed she is, but not really. Or like, as far as what's going on in the present day section of the story, I thought like that was going to be the twist, if you will. The M. Night Shyamalan of this series point was going to be, the M. Night Shyamalan point of the series was going to be his daughter. Something to do with that, or with his wife, how he was constantly seeing his wife, that it wasn't a vision, but she was actually there. And none of those things came to fruition, so that's why I've dubbed them a red herring, and that could have been just me, but I was really reading into every time they had used that word. I was like, oh, this is supposed to be letting me know something's happening, and it wasn't. So it is what it is. I don't love the end of this book. I don't hate it. And I like it more than Dream Sequence. I don't need people to die to enjoy a book, but they do die in this book. And then they undie. And that really cheapened some of those things for me. And it's okay for that to be the case for some characters, in my opinion. However, to do it across the board, like everyone lived. And to me, that made it, obviously it's a fake story. So I'm using words like unrealistic, realistic coming up, and I don't mean it exactly that way, but it made it unrealistic, right? Like there's no way going up against like this many feral vampires, this many this many princes of forever, and no one dies. I mean, Baptiste is just a human and he makes it through, right? You have Dior's Rain. She makes it through, also just a human. You have Charlotte, just a human, makes it through, right? It's to do that with everybody wasn't my favorite choice. To really drill down the unreliable narrator thing by Gabriel literally being like, yeah, I lied about stuff, but not about everything. You know, the best lies are hidden within truth. I guess leaves it up to us as the reader to decide everything that he didn't specifically say he lied about. Was it the truth? Is that how it went down? Like, how did the Forever King actually die? We don't know, because the story that we got was fake. It was epic, but it was fake. Yeah, it's tough trying to really wrap my head around that. It didn't make, like a dream sequence tells you that everything that you just spent the time learning, investing in, or reading or watching about, it was completely fake, and that feels super bad. And this wasn't that bad, right? Most of what we found out about was real. Gabriel's reasons for including patients that he gave to Jean-Francois and everybody were good reasons, right? And it makes sense, and I understand why they came up with this plot and the way that they made everything happen. But it also makes me question Selene and how, like, the stories that Selene told about her past or with Wulfric. It made me question things about Marin. Like, did all that stuff play out the way that it was described? Did the Asani really want to end the world? How did Gabriel, if Patience wasn't there, did like the Gabriel Voss thing actually happen? Or was that entire plot line false and Gabe like came back to try and get to Dior after Phoebe stole Ash Drinker? I don't know. I mean, and honestly, speaking of Ash Drinker, if you were gonna bring one character back, Ash Drinker really would have been one of my big choices to do that, especially with like regular humans there, or just a little more. I would have liked to have known if Ash Drinker was an angel that was embedded within the sword, if it was like a consciousness that was developed post sword or because sword. How is the sword talking? Like, what's the magic going on there? Would have been pretty cool. It makes sense that she is the Sainted Blade. But yeah, I mean, overall, I love this series. I think it was fantastic. I hope, if you're still here, I hope you enjoyed it. What do you think about the end of the book? Did it cheapen the whole story to you, or did it really work for you? I know there's going to be two sides to that coin. There has to be. That's a very divisive way to end this trilogy. Did you think that them constantly using the word patience was going to lead to something more than it did? And how did you feel about Dior being a dusk dancer? Was that fun and exciting for you, or do you think they were giving her too many powers and too much at her disposal? Let me know. Get in those comments. Love you. Bye. Can't think of the word that Jay uses in this book. Dusk dancer, dusk dancer, dusk dancer, dusk dancer, dusk dancer.